Shavua Tov, welcome to Eretz Israel, Saturday night Źohar. We're looking at the week of Tisha B'Av. The week we begin in intensely mourning the destruction of a temple 2,000 years ago. How do you mourn something that you didn't go through? We can understand loss. We understand the pain. We understand the sense of disconnection, the disruption in your life, the loss of loved one, the loss of a mate, the loss of a child even. It's a terrible thing that happens. The loss of a temple 2,000 years ago. How do I feel that? How do I connect? How is that relevant? Why do I have to sit on the ground and put ashes on my forehead and try to weep for something I never knew? Judaism demands this. The rabbis, with their intensely long-distance vision, knew that this day would come where there would be Jewish people back in the land and all over the planet. They would come to the 9th of Av and face the same situation. How do I mourn something that I can try to conceive of it? I read books about it. I hear lectures about it. I see pictures painted of it. Pretty good pictures too, And yet I need to feel a loss in order to mourn. So I think what's going to take place, hopefully for all of us, hopefully yours truly, is that we must engage our imagination. Now, the imagination in the Kabbalah is not simply imagination, the image nation, right? What's that about? Maybe it's America, the nation of images. The world is a place of images. But the imagination, of course, is the faculty of the mind that projects images. And it also receives images. It's a two-way camera. Now, the Kabbalah and the Holy Zohar teach us it's called Isplakaria HaMe'ira. In the mind of Moses, that faculty called imagination is called the shining lens. And the Zohar goes on to tell us that the Isplakar She'ena Me'ira, the lens that's not shining, is in the minds of all the other prophets. Now, we're talking about prophets. We're talking about people that were very serious about serving God their entire lives and that gave everything they had for that. But still, their mind didn't reach the level of Moses' mind, which is this clear lens. He spoke panim b'panim el Hashem. He spoke face to face with God. And if we look at that phrase, you could translate it face in face. That God invested himself into Moses' being, literally took over the running of his mind. Now, if that happens to you, your mind is going to shine, right? And that's why the sages say that he had that isplakar me'ira, that he had direct communication. Or otherwise, with the other prophets, God spoke to them with metaphors and with symbols and with stories that would be a useful tool to understand the nimshal, the inner meaning of the image or the metaphor or the story, but it's not the direct communication. Okay, so what does that have to do with Tisha B'Av? Well, I think what the rabbis are expecting us to do is to use our mind, use our imagination to transport ourselves to a time where we had a temple that unified the nation and sometimes even unified the world. We had a temple that brought clarity to the mind because it removed sin twice a day. With every sacrifice on a national level, there was national forgiveness. Can you imagine if you had national forgiveness twice a day? You might get to be a holy folk, It'd be a lot easier. And so the Zohar is telling us, use your imagination, use your prophetic mind to go back in time to the place of the Mikdash. See the glory, see the beauty. The Shekhinah is on the Mizbeach. Miracles are happening left and right. The bread never went off all week long, and it didn't get hard. It was soft and warm the day that they took it down after a week and ate it. Nobody likes to eat week-old bread, right? The plume of smoke was going off even in a windstorm, the plume of smoke was always straight, going up in a column. They could smell the incense all the way down to Yericho, about 25 kilometers. It wasn't your normal temple. There are other miracles we could list and keep on about that, but just to try to flesh out the time, the place, the events, the people, the greatness, the glory, the sense of pride of having a temple at this level of function, of this level of importance, and then losing it. That's something to mourn. Because even though we weren't there, we have suffered losses. And we see other nations have gone through tremendous losses. As we're speaking, nations are going through losses. I don't know how many people die a day from warfare, but it's probably not a happy number. And how many people die of starvation and illness? And how many people die of a broken heart? But when you're connected to a temple, to a people, to a sacrifice, to a forgiveness, then the mourning becomes real. And it's still happening today, on a different level. In our generation, generations, there's a debate between, they're either 25 years, 50 years, 100 years, depends on which sage you read. But I believe the destruction of the temple in our generation is the Holocaust. Because it's not about bricks and stones and glass and steel. It's about people, it's about souls. And when 6 million people are wiped out in a matter of a few years, it's a Holocaust, and that Holocaust is a destruction of the temple of the people. And certainly we can remember that and mourn that loss. Because if you're a Jew, and even if you're not a Jew, whole families were wiped out, and there were a few survivors to tell us the story. And those stories are pertinent, and they're important. So this Tisha B'Av, we did lose a temple. The temple of our people. The temple of our glory, our pride, our dignity. And when you see the movies about the Holocaust, you see how that was. And one tear on Tisha B'Av might just be the ticket to the Beit Shlishi, the third temple. One tear for a ticket. I think that's a good deal. I want to bless you all with a Shabbat, Shavua Tov. It comes about this time of the week. Have a great week. And you should find that place in your heart to mourn, because when you can feel the pain, then you will feel the joy. That's the deal God gives us. We got to take it. So have a great week. We'll see you on all the outlets. Shavua Tov.